Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, I get why the monkey wants his bananas back, but why does the ostrich? It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. How's it going, Mark?
It's going great. Patrick, I have a question for you.
Yeah, lay it on me.
At what point do you throw away socks?
Variable. There are some times when I'm like, you know what? I am. These socks are a little bit worn, not all the way worn through, maybe not holes. And I'll throw them out then. Sometimes, though, I will wear a sock until it is barely a sock. Holes in the toes, holes in the heel.
Does it vary depending on like what mood you're in or the sock itself? Like it's a sock that you really like, and, like you like the pattern or something.
I mean, I would say more the former, that it's like a mood thing. Like when am I paying attention to my socks? Although I up until maybe like the last year or so have been kind of a like just a white socks kind of guy, white or socks with like some color on them. But I've only recently in the last like year, maybe year and a half, started wearing socks that have like colors and patterns and fun stuff on them. So when these socks start to wear out, I'll have to make some real decisions.
But when they're just plain white socks,
like, I don't even really think about it. You know, it's like when my brain turns on and is like, you should throw out some socks. Then I'll start throwing out socks. It doesn't matter what kind of condition they're in. What do you have a rule or schedule that you go by?
No, I wish I did. I wish my life was in order that much. I really like a sock has to be pretty worn for me to get rid of it. Because like one hole, I'm like, oh wow, this sock has a hole in it. 2 holes, then you're kind of like, oh, should I get rid of these? But like maybe my husband usually just ends up throwing them away. Like at some point when he's just sick of looking at them.
And that's fair.
Yeah.
You can throw away your loved one's socks. That's fine.
Yeah.
I think there's also like you reach an equilibrium with socks, right? You get to a point where you're like, all right, I have the right number of socks.
Also true.
And if you throw away one pair of socks, you're like, well, now I need to buy new socks. And if you're throwing away like regular white socks, then you need to buy like a pack of 6 to replace them. And then you have too many socks. You're throwing off the balance.
It's too much.
You're just venturing into the unknown is what I'm saying. You can, listener, you can also venture into the unknown by borrowing my copy of Sonic Forces. All you got to do is email us with your mailing address, Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com, and I send this thing along to you. You can play it. It's Sonic Forces for Nintendo Switch.
One more needs to be said.
Nothing more really needs to be said about it. Something more needs to be said about what we're doing next month, though. March is all about weird retro sequels.
That's right. We're doing an entire month where our Thursday episodes are going to be talking about strange sequels that are also retro games.
Perfect. One a week. We're just going to run through the list here. Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link is the first week. The second week is Mario Land 2: 6 Golden Coins. The third week is Star Tropics 2: Zoda's Revenge. And the final week of weird sequel retro month is Castlevania 2: Simon's Quest. Most of those are available on Wii U or 3DS virtual consoles, except for Star Tropics 2. That one will be more difficult to come by.
But we would love for you to play along with us. Send us your thoughts. If you've played these games in the past, send us your thoughts. Just would love to hear if you've experienced these games before, if you're experiencing them for the first time, and what you think.
I would also be interested in people who had not played these games but had played the games that they are sequels to, and you just tell me what you think Zelda 2 should be like based off of the first one. That's a fun perspective. Where were you a couple of weeks ago, huh? When we were pitching this idea in the first place, huh? You're holding these fun perspectives from us. All right, Mark. Let's get into we've got a couple things to talk about, so let's get into the main meat of the show here. So we will be getting to our main feature of the show, which is that we are going to rank the Donkey Kong's animal buddies from the Donkey Kong Country series. But before we do that, we did a big topic episode a couple weeks ago celebrating the 3DS, and some of you have very kindly written to us to let us know your thoughts about the 3DS and your experiences with them. Our first message comes from Chariot Goblin, who says, this is Chariot Goblin, which I realized just sort of mumbled my way through as though that's a normal name and everyone knows what I'm talking about when I say Chariot Goblin. Chariot Goblin says, hello, I agree with everything you've said about the 3DS. 3 games that you did not mention are Rhythm Heaven Megamix, Kirby Triple Deluxe, and Kirby Planet Robobot. Thanks and keep up the good work.
I love Rhythm Heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Rhythm Heaven Megamix is kind of like WarioWare Gold, or that Mario Party 100 game where they were like, we're just going to take the best, or at least some, from all the other games and put them into this new game. I don't feel like Rhythm Heaven Megamix set the world on fire, which is a little bit unfortunate because I love Rhythm Heaven, and I really hope that that's a series that we see more from in the future. I'd love for a Switch entry.
I have never played the Rhythm Heaven games.
They're so much fun.
Yeah.
They're really, really, really fun. And I wish that Nintendo was doing more of what we saw them kind of teasing a little bit. Like, remember when the first Switch was first revealed and there was that weird like robot game where you're walking around on tiles and like butt stomping them to switch to make them flip over and there's colors. I think it'd be cool if Nintendo just released smaller titles on the eShop as eShop exclusives.
Yeah.
And I feel like Rhythm Heaven would be a perfect candidate for that.
Yeah, well, and I wonder if we will see more of that just as the like teams are like permanently and more concretely coming off the 3DS like development cycle. And it's being like, oh yeah, we have these smaller games, these smaller ideas that need a home, and there is no like throwaway platform anymore. Everything's got to go on Switch. It would be cool to see those games come there, and then something like this Rhythm Heaven as well. Also, I can't believe we left off the Kirby games. Both Triple Deluxe and Planet Robobot are well regarded, but like Kirby's Epic Yarn is also going to be. It's not out yet, right?
No, it has yet to come.
I think that's right. I think it comes out in March. But I don't know. I don't know. And you can get classic Kirby games on there too. If you are in the mood for Kirby, you can play a ton of Kirby on the 3DS. Good call, Chariot Goblin. Our next email comes from James. He says, hello, Nintendo Cartridge Society. On your recent 3DS celebration, you mentioned that the 3DS has several Zelda games available to play on it. Your quote was, quote, there is not another Nintendo system on which you can play this many Zelda games, unquote. However, the Wii U has quite a few if you include Virtual Console and backwards compatible options. He lists 13. The Wind Waker HD, Hyrule Warriors, Twilight Princess HD, Breath of the Wild, The Legend of Zelda, Zelda 2, Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Minish Cap, Phantom Hourglass, Spirit Tracks, and Skyward Sword. This doesn't take away from the 3DS, but I just wanted to point out that the Wii U is no Zelda slouch either. Great point. This is that quote is from me. That's me. I said it. The one thing that I will sort of like dock it for is that the Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask feel like the non-definitive versions to me. They are the Nintendo 64 versions on the Virtual Console. And if you really want to play the best versions of those games, you got to do it on 3DS. But, I mean, there's really no arguing with Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD. And, of course, Breath of the Wild, the best Zelda game ever made. So, thank you, James, for that. And our last email comes from Lizzie. She says, when I was a kid, I was obsessed with puzzle games, but the love of my life was a British gentleman in a top hat, Professor Layton. Have you guys ever played those games? There were 6 of them, 4, I think, on the DS and 2 on the 3DS. There was also a decent reboot on the 3DS, but that game wasn't really about Layton. I only asked because I always deeply associated that brand with Nintendo, so much so that I was always surprised when no one else had heard of the game. I want to know if you guys have ever heard of them. If not, I seriously recommend. It has good stories, characters, and puzzles that are challenging and fun. Anyway, thanks for being my weekly dose of Nintendo, Lizzie. P.S. have you heard that Animal Crossing for Switch is coming out April 29th? I hope that rumor is true. Mark, let's address rumor first.
That'd be crazy.
It seems so early, doesn't it?
1 month after Yoshi?
Yeah.
Like, that would be nuts. Their year has to be stacked.
I mean, I assume that Pokemon is going to be November and Luigi's Mansion is going to be October. Because when else are you going to
spooky. It's the spookiest time.
So I would guess that's going to be a September game.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I have no clue because I am very curious about Nintendo's 2019 because Animal Crossing is a heavy hitter for them.
Yeah.
And don't forget, we also have Fire Emblem coming out this year sometime.
Right.
So to me, I could see Animal Crossing being their holiday game unless there must be some stuff that we don't know about. So and April 29th would be bonkers. I think that would indicate that Nintendo has a ton of games coming out this year.
Which we can hope. But to Lizzie's actual question, which is about the Professor Layton games.
Yeah, I really enjoy Professor Layton. My only experience with them was on the DS. So I played like the first one, which I believe was Curious Village or something similar to that. And then I think I skipped the second one and played the third one. But the reason I didn't bring it up for the 3DS episode is I haven't played any of the 3DS entries.
Yeah.
I got a little bit burned out after the 2DS ones. Not that because they're bad games, but just because they felt a little samey to me after a while. But I completely agree that they are incredibly charming, incredibly well made. The music's amazing. The animation is perfect. It's like the perfect blend of European television animation and Japanese animation.
Yeah.
They're great games. Completely agree, Lizzie.
All right, great call, Lizzie, and good work, Mark. I've never played any of these games. In my mind, they are almost forever conflated with Phoenix Wright, even though I understand that they are different games, and
there is a crossover.
There is a
game in
crossover.
Japan. Yeah, that I don't think ever made it out here, which is a bit of a bummer.
It is a bit of a bummer, but like I like those sort of like it's the puzzles are like kind of brain teasery style puzzles, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I'd be way into that, and that's something that like we could do as a 433, just slowly make our way through a Layton game.
It's not a terrible idea.
Lizzie, you just dictated some of our programming for the next like 4 months. All right, Mark, are you ready to rank these Donkey Kong Animal Buddies?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. But first, some ground rules. We're only going to rank Animal Buddies if they appear in a Donkey Kong Country game.
That's right.
Now, I hate to be so specific and pedantic about this, but we are...
I don't. I love it.
Mark loves to be specific and pedantic, and I suppose I do too. I hate that it could be construed as a negative, I guess is what I'm saying.
And I hate, exactly. I hate that other people might not enjoy it as much as I do. I love it.
I hate that I'm apologizing for it, is what I'm saying. But the reason that we are doing this is because there are a couple of Animal Buddies that we want to dismiss out of hand.
Well, we're calling them the Garbage Buddies.
Conversely, if they were Garbage Buddies, I would be into it. Which is your favorite Garbage Buddy? The answer is Oscar. The animal friends that we are not going to be talking about include the Light Fish from Donkey Kong 64, and then all of the Animal Buddies from Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. And that is Hoofer, Flurl, Orko, and Hellibird. And because neither Donkey Kong 64 or Donkey Kong Jungle Beat are Donkey Kong Country games. Where's the word country? I don't see it.
Thus, we ignore it.
Okay. Which means that we are talking about Animal Buddies from Donkey Kong Country, Donkey Kong Country 2, Donkey Kong Country 3, and Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze.
Mm-hmm. So splayed before us on the table here are amiibo that we have chosen to represent the individual Animal Buddies.
That's right. So from Donkey Kong Country 1, should we go through who's representing what?
Yeah, because that will also introduce all the Animal Buddies that are on the table.
Great. So from Donkey Kong Country 1, we are using the Champion amiibo to represent the Animal Buddies, the Breath of the Wild Champion amiibo. So obviously Daruk is representing Rambi the rhinoceros. Rivali is representing Espresso the ostrich. Mifa is representing Ungard the swordfish. And what is her name?
I'm blanking.
Yeah, me too.
Oh man. Okay.
The Garuda warrior. Come on, what's her name? Her name is Urbosa. Urbosa's Fury. There we go. Is representing Winky the frog. That's the only one that isn't perfect in my mind. The other three, Rambi, Espresso, and Ungard as Daruk, Rivali, and Mifa.
They're so perfect that they make up for any Winky weirdness.
That's right. And we do have some Winky weirdness. From Donkey Kong Country 2, we are using Metroid Amiibo to represent. Ratley the rattlesnake is being represented by Ridley. Squitter the spider is being represented by the Metroid amiibo, like the actual squishy Metroid. Glimmer the anglerfish is being represented by Zero Suit Samus, and Clapper the seal, who will spit water on lava to cool it down, is being represented by just a regular Samus amiibo. From Donkey Kong Country 3, we only have two animal friends here. Ellie the elephant, represented by a King DDD amiibo, and Perry the parallel bird, as represented by Meta Knight. And then, Mark, we need to figure this out right now. Not represented, or not, it was sort of represented. We need to figure out Squawks, Quawks, and Talks.
So Squawks is the parrot.
Yes.
From Donkey Kong Country
and Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze.
Okay.
He might also be in Donkey Kong Country Returns, although I cannot confirm or deny that. But he's the green parrot. In the original Donkey Kong Country, he holds a light for you in one level. In Tropical Freeze, he's an item where you can purchase him, and he's very excited whenever you get near a puzzle piece. I have been using Squawks a ton in my current playthrough of Tropical Freeze to get all of the puzzle pieces. He's very useful. But so I think we should include Squawks as one of these animal friends, here represented by the green Yarn Yoshi amiibo. But then we have two more to deal with here, Quawks and Talks.
Right.
What do we know about Quawks?
He shows up in Donkey Kong Country 2 and Donkey Kong Country 3.
Right. So Quawks is he's like purple, and he helps you fly around levels and like maybe spits seeds at things. Is this slowly coming back to you when we play through?
Vaguely.
Okay, so is Quawks a different animal?
Oh, right. He like grabs you in his talons.
Yeah,
and
and
like
you,
the like
fly around
levels.
the beehive. Yeah. And maybe also like one of those brambly levels, he does that too. So I think we may need to count him as a separate character.
I think so too, because they have different functions for sure.
Sure. Okay, so Squawks is going to be the green Yarn Yoshi amiibo. Quawks is going to be the blue Yarn Yoshi amiibo. And then the pink Yarn Yoshi amiibo is going to represent Talks the parrot. Talks the parrot is only in Tropical Freeze on Switch. When you are playing as Funky Kong, he runs Funky's store.
Right.
And he's a cool bird. He wears sunglasses. Right?
Yeah. He's a cool bird.
Squawks, Quawks, Talks. Got it. All right, Mark, how would you like to approach this?
Oh, man. Well, okay, so first of all, let's just gauge our general affinity level for the animal buddies as a collective.
Sure. Like, do we like that there are animal buddies? Or are we like, hey, this changes the way I control Donkey Kong Country, and maybe I'm annoyed by that?
So I think it's fair to say for both of us, out of the original Rare-developed Donkey Kong Country games on the Super Nintendo,
yes,
that the original Donkey Kong Country is the one that we hold nearest and dearest to our hearts.
Absolutely, yeah. Fair and maybe even easy to say.
Yeah, so I feel like that immediately puts Rambi, Espresso, Ungard, and Winky in a different tier for me. Not necessarily my favorite, but definitely ones that like I feel more like I feel more about.
Sure, you just feel more.
Yeah.
I think
especially more than like Perry and Ellie from Donkey Kong Country 3, which I'm only passingly familiar with.
Right. And I do think, and I'm not gonna say let's declare anything right now, but I feel like Rambi is gonna run away with this thing. That he is an easy choice for number one. He appears in I think the most of these games, right? That he's in the original Donkey Kong Country. He's definitely in Tropical Freeze. I believe he's also in Returns, and is just like he is the quintessential animal buddy in my mind.
I also feel like as it went on, especially in the SNES games, they obviously were like had to reach further for animal buddies and what their abilities would be.
Yeah.
To try to not like step on the toes of the first game. Like, oh, you have to like iterate and do something new, but a lot of the really good ideas have already been done.
Yeah, totally. Well, and I think that I mean, we're a little bit reaching in in terms of Clapper and Glimmer from Donkey Kong Country 2, because Clapper, like, that's not a character that you ride around, right? He's just like in the scene, you hop on him and he does one thing and then you get to keep going. He's as much an animal buddy in that game as the hippos are in
Super Mario Land 2.
That's right, who blow bubbles so you can get up to the moon. And ditto Glimmer, the anglerfish, who serves basically the same purpose in Donkey Kong Country 2 that Quawks does in the original Donkey Kong Country.
Now, I did forget to include Quawks in that grouping of the original Donkey Kong Country characters.
Yes.
Because he is there, but I feel like almost as a non-entity. I mean, part of the reason we're doing this ranking at all is because of your positive experience with Quawks in Tropical Freeze.
Right. And I mean, honestly, if what we are talking about is who is your best friend, who is your best buddy, my heart is screaming Quawks, because I am playing this game in a very specific way where I'm like, I want to get all these puzzle pieces, and Quawks gets excited when I get near a puzzle piece, and then when I grab it, he goes nuts. He freaks out. He's so happy for me. None of the rest of these guys are very happy for me.
No.
They'll get upset when they get hit.
They're like beasts of burden in a lot of ways.
They are like beasts of burden.
Now, you know that I highly respect your opinion, and
yes.
I feel your enthusiasm for Quawks. The difficulty for me is that I didn't use Quawks this way in Tropical Freeze, and
so you only know him from Donkey Kong
I've experienced the joy secondhand.
Right.
I haven't experienced the joy for myself. So maybe we're safer starting at the bottom.
Yeah, I
and
think
trying
that's probably
to
right.
figure out how we feel about some of these like more milquetoast animal buddies.
Sure. Okay. So let's actually just finish, or let's talk our way through not the Donkey Kong Country 1 animal buddies.
Okay.
And just sort of figure out how we feel about the rest of them. I'm going to put Quawks over there too.
Yeah, that's fair.
So all right, where do you want to start? Where do you want to start here, Mark?
Let's just start with Donkey Kong Country 2.
Okay. So we've got Ratley, the rattlesnake. He kind of a weird role for a snake. He is coiled up most of the time and like bounces around like a spring. How do we feel about that? I want to say something about this character's design.
Okay.
He's got too much face personality for a snake character. The original animal buddies look like cartoon animals, but they kind of I feel like they stick closer to with maybe the exception of On Guard, who has big cartoon eyes, that they still they look like animals. Ratley's got like big crossed eyes and like a tongue that's sticking out and like weird little teeth.
I kind of feel like it's a problem with a lot of the Donkey Kong Country 2 and the Donkey Kong Country 3 animal buddies, where they like really went swimming in the deep end of the rare googly-eyed pool.
Yeah. They got that rare aesthetic all over them. I will also say that I get nervous anytime I'm using a spring character or someone has like locomotion via spring. Spring Suit Mario in Mario Galaxy 2 or the first one, I forget which, is a stressful time for me. I don't like controlling Mario that way. I want to just jump when I jump. I don't want it to be like a weird physics-based thing.
I will say, almost by default, Ratley is maybe my preferred animal buddy in Donkey Kong Country 2. I hate Squitter.
Okay, now, do you hate Squitter because the name is awful?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I know that a rose by any other name would smell as sweet.
Right.
But would it? And would Squitter be as horrible if it had a different name? Here's part of the reason I despise the name is that Rattly makes total sense.
Rattly the rattlesnake.
Mm-hmm. Squitter, it starts with an S like spider. And I guess you could argue that it is squitting its webs.
Okay. That if squit is a verb, it is one I have not heard prior to you using it in that sentence.
Is it supposed to be onomatopoeia?
Maybe. Is that a squit?
I don't know. That was pretty good, whatever it was.
Thank you.
Yeah. I wouldn't call it a squit, though. That did not sound like you were going squit to me.
Right.
So anyway, Squitter, not a fan.
I wonder, let me ask you this, Mark. Is it possible that in other languages' comic books, Spider-Man doesn't thwip, he squits?
No, I like to think that thwip is universal.
I like to think that too, just like Snikt and Bamf are also universal.
Mm-hmm.
What if, if Wolverine shot spider webs out of his claws?
Okay, I'm listening.
That might be a squit.
Yeah, okay, but that's giving Squitter way too much credit, because Squitter, not that cool.
No, he is definitely not a combination of Wolverine and Spider-Man. In no way. I think Squitter also has just... I like Squitter mechanically speaking.
I don't hate the design.
I do have a couple problems with the design. I know Espresso wears tennis shoes as well, but Squitter wearing 4 pairs of tennis shoes is maybe a bridge too far for me. Like, it just looks a little too weird. Also, he's hairy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean that he's a tarantula?
Yeah, I guess it does.
Do tarantulas spin webs?
No, I don't believe they do.
Okay. So
we're docking points for science.
Yes. In the name of science,
yes.
We are docking points to Squitter. But, I mean, both seem worlds more interesting to me than Clapper or Glimmer.
Well, they definitely have more utility, if nothing else.
Yeah. Well, and also, like, what is Clapper?
Clapper can hardly be called an animal buddy. Like, he's almost a victim. He's just standing there doing his thing. It's not like he necessarily, you don't call him and you're like, I need to get across this lava.
That's right.
And he's like, oh, I'll be right there. It's, the one thing I'm good at. No, he's just like hanging out, being lazy. You jump on him. Maybe he's not even being lazy. Maybe he's waiting for the bus or whatever.
Well, here's the thing. He's there already with the tools to solve the problem, and he needs you to jump on him in order to solve the problem.
Does he need you to jump on him? Like, maybe he it's not his job to solve this problem. He's just hanging out, and you abuse him.
I mean, I suppose to my earlier point about I understand why the monkeys want the bananas back. Yeah, I mean, Clapper's not invested in this quest.
Yeah, maybe Clapper is an enemy, for all we know.
Yeah, he's just a really ineffective enemy.
So yeah, Clapper, difficult to like you.
Difficult to rank Clapper. Glimmer is an anglerfish, which means that he is using his photoluminescence to light your way in the dark, swimmy worlds of beautiful music land.
And this feels like a step down from On Guard.
Well, it's sort of combining On Guard and Quawks' functionality in the first game.
Right.
Which
you're just kind of like, okay.
Right, like I would rather this level not be that.
Although, to be fair, that's how we felt about a lot of Donkey Kong Country 2. Just like, I wish this level, like...
Was not.
I
wish it was different.
I will say, and this is very superficial of me, that I enjoy the name Glimmer because it immediately reminds me of the Mariah Carey film Glitter.
Sure.
Which is a beautiful disaster.
Modern cinematic classic.
The Citizen Kane of Mariah Carey movies, for sure.
Yeah, find me a better Mariah Carey movie. It can't be done. Was she in Dreamgirls?
No. I say that with a lot of confidence, but
who knows?
No, she wasn't.
Who knows? We couldn't decide.
We would remember
Journey last week.
We would remember.
I don't know if that's true.
You remember Journey. I didn't remember Journey.
That's true.
This I would remember.
We also have to address Quawks.
Yes,
the parrot who does fly you around levels and spit coconuts or seeds or whatever.
So in that way, Quawks is as far as the Donkey Kong Country games go, better than Squawks.
Oh, as far as the like
not counting
Super
Tropical
NES
Freeze.
ones, yeah, and I would say, for me right now, leading the pack from Donkey Kong Country 2.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. The only thing that, actually, yes, I do agree with that because, Seal, Clapper, Glimmer. And part of the reason I don't love Squawks in the SNES games is that you're not controlling them.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, they just exist in the world and are, like, following you around or something. And so I like that Quawks you actually have control over.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I think we kind of know where we stand there. But before we get into actually, like, sorting any of them, let's also deal with the Donkey Kong Country 3 characters. Perry the parallel bird and Ellie the elephant.
Okay, so remind me why Perry is called the parallel bird. He like flies.
He mimics you, so he basically appears above your character, and then
right, because when you jump, he jumps. Right. When you go right, he goes right, and he can like collect items for you and things like that. Right,
That's
and
right.
take out enemies.
That's right.
Okay.
So that is how he is parallel. He does exactly what you do, just a little bit higher. And then Ellie is an elephant. Seemingly one of the only animal buddies that can hold barrels. She can also put water into her trunk and blow that at enemies.
And then Ellie is also a little bit different because instead of riding on Ellie, you transform into Ellie. So when you jump into like the Ellie barrel or whatever it is, you're like in there for a little bit and it shakes and then out pops Ellie.
Right. What happened in the meantime? Where are the monkeys during this?
Unknown.
They're not inside that elephant. It's not like the beginning of
no, but
Ace Ventura 2.
No,
that's a rhinoceros.
No, maybe they like transferred consciousnesses though.
Sure, but then aren't their bodies just going to be back in that crate at the beginning of the thing?
Yeah, but maybe that's just how it is.
Maybe what they do is they shrink down and they like ride inside her ears.
Oh yes,
so we just can't see. They're shouting orders at her from inside. That's how you're controlling.
Yes, they're like Remy.
There we go. Yes,
like pulling on Ellie's hair.
There we go.
Mm-hmm. From Ratatouille, of course.
Yes, thank you. And then I suppose we have one more character that we need to talk about here, and that's Tox the parrot.
So Tox is useless, but very cool, and so I'm scared to rank him too low because I'm hoping he'll like me.
I mean, it's what happened to us with Funky Kong when we ranked the Kongs, right? He kept creeping up that list until I think he was like number 3 or something. That list, of course, has since been made non-definitive.
Thank goodness.
A fate I fear this list is destined for as well. All right.
But I mean, being realistic, Tox is not is basically a non-entity.
He's a non-entity, but I think I'm going to put him above some like entities that I actively dislike.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Like Clapper and Glimmer, Tox is definitely cooler than that.
Yeah, Clapper and Glimmer, I'm thinking are going to go in my don't waste my time pile.
Okay, I also kind of feel that way about Perry the parallel bird, not because I despise Perry in any way, but I've gotten my fill of birds as animal buddies. He has more utility than Clapper and Glimmer, but I just don't feel anything about Perry.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Like, get your own personality, man.
Right. Why are you a bird at this point? Can you be like a pterodactyl?
Or like a bug?
Yeah. A good bug? There's lots of bad bugs.
Or a bat. Give me a bat.
Yeah, give me
Bat should really have like sonar or something though. Shooting those around the cave.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that could be a much better character.
It was Donkey Kong Country 3. At that point, they were scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, I mean that's when you introduce babies, right? This giant baby monkey.
Uh-huh.
and not like a baby as an animal buddy.
That'd be great too.
Okay, so who is our least favorite here? Clapper or Glimmer?
No, here I'm actually going to say Perry for the reason that
Perry is the bottom.
Perry's the bottom because I feel nothing. I at least feel something about Clapper and Glimmer.
Okay.
And so the fact that Perry doesn't like elicits no emotion, I think is the most damning.
Yeah, I get that
position of all.
So I would say that my next least favorite is going to be Glimmer. No, is going to be Clapper and then Glimmer. Clapper, as we've discussed, seems like he should be doing, if he is truly your animal buddy, he should be doing more to help you. You should be able to ride him around or something.
That's fair. I guess the one thing I like about Clapper over Glimmer is that Clapper is a different animal type, and we just get a lot of fish. Here's another one like, could Glimmer be a manta ray? Could Glimmer be, like anything different? But I see your point.
I feel like Glimmer is helping out in the best way he can. Mm-hmm. He can't leave the waters that he's in.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's we don't know. We don't know if he's a saltwater fish or a freshwater fish.
Oh, you're right. Maybe he's like killing himself too.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe he needs some real brackish water, but Donkey Kong keeps needing light. Inside a cave, which maybe has fresh water.
But we do know that anglerfish are saltwater fish. Like, we know that.
Well, yes. All right, so he gets a point for science.
Okay. All right. Well, then there you go. So Perry is our the last place, followed by Clapper, followed by Glimmer.
I think it is at this point that we need to discuss Talks the parrot. He's cool. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But does he deserve a place any higher on this list for having literally no utility?
No, I guess not.
All right. Talks the cool parrot. You're cool. We like your sunglasses, but you're going fourth from the bottom on our list here.
Yeah, but please still talk to us at lunch.
I mean, like, really, like, return my texts.
Okay, so Ellie the elephant, I feel is lingering in here somewhere.
Yeah, coming in surprisingly high for a game that no one cares about
or likes. Yeah. And as much as we question the taste of Rattly and Squitter, Ellie kind of feels like they wanted to do Rambi again, but they couldn't.
Yeah, I think that's right. And so let's put Ellie in there. I wish Ellie was a more interesting character. Why not? I mean, so she's a baby elephant, I guess. But wouldn't it have been more fun to just like let them ride a full-size elephant?
That'd be hilarious.
Like that would be great because all the animal buddies are about the same size.
Yeah.
What if one of them is just like 4 times as big as the rest?
And her power is like the power of stamping.
Yeah. I mean, it's like in New Super Mario Brothers when Mario
when you get super big.
Yeah. That's so fun, and you're just like destroying the level. It breaks everything, but it's fun.
Yeah, that is. Ellie is definitely a missed opportunity in that way.
All right, so I believe that then brings us to Rattly and Squitter.
Okay, so are we saying that Quawks, this is the flying parrot that carries you through levels in Donkey Kong Country 2, is preferred to Rattly and Squitter?
Because
I don't think I hate Rattly as much as you do.
Yeah, I just sort of quietly dislike Rattly. Was I yelling before? Squitter is definitely next.
Yeah, Squitter is gross.
Squid.
Yeah, it's just too much. Okay, so Squitter, and then
you want to put Quawks and then Rattly above Squawks or Quawks rather.
I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember our playthrough of Donkey Kong Country 2.
Yeah,
and which levels I enjoyed more. Like, I remember really disliking a lot of the beehive levels and a lot of the bramble levels, and I can't remember if Quawks alleviated some of that, like made it better, was a balm in trying times, or if it was just like another thing to try to wrangle.
Well, so that is a good point about Quawks, is that when you encounter him, he is a non-optional animal buddy. You have to fly through the area. You have to use Quawks. Rattly and Squitter are both animal buddies that you can use for that time, and it like makes that section of the level a little bit easier, or you're able to reach more things. But like, there's just no getting around the fact that you have to fly around with Quawks.
Oh wait, Squitter, you become Squitter, don't you?
Do you also become Rattly?
Yes, you do.
Okay. What is up with Donkey Kong Country 2 and Donkey Kong Country 3, and why do people like the second one and not the third one?
I genuinely don't know. We did not particularly like the second game when we played through it. Okay. So I actually think the order we have this laid out on the table, which goes Quawks, Rattly, Squitter, yeah, Squitter, Ellie, which one is this? Tox, Glimmer, Clapper, and Perry. I feel okay about that.
So right, and that is from number 6 on down through 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 through 13, which means our top 5, what was there ever any mystery, are in some order: Rambi, Espresso, On Guard, Winky, and Squawks the Parrot. All the animal buddies that appear in the original. Mark, I think you and I usually do a pretty good job of fighting our nostalgia bias. Here, I don't know that we did. I'm tempted to believe these are just better characters.
Yeah. I mean, we've played through Donkey Kong Country 2, and that game left a sour taste in my mouth, and part of that was the animal buddies. But again, to your point, is that just because they were different from what I, was used to in Donkey Kong Country?
Probably, definitely.
I do think it's very telling, though, that in Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, Rambi returns.
And is like the only like real animal buddy. Squawks is there, but like he's not in a barrel that you break open and then like ride for the rest of the level.
So I don't really have anything to say for Winky. I actually think we could put Winky truthfully lower than Quawks, Rattly, and Squitter, because I think this
Squitter.
I refuse to get it right.
You want to put an L in there, and it's just not there.
Yeah.
You're not a fan of Winky the Frog?
No. I mean, do you disagree that he or it is the least of these 5?
So here's where I'm coming from with Winky. I find him difficult to control when you're playing with him in like the main course of the game, but collecting 3 Winky tokens and going into like the Winky bonus stage is the closest I'm going to come to getting it. That's the most I'm going to get the most lives in that one. It is probably the best of the 4 like bonus game maps that you can actually run around to collect those little idle things.
For me, it was always Espresso.
Espresso is also very good. And I like On Guards as well. I think Rambi's is actually the weakest. But Winky is the one where I'm probably going to get 8 or 9 lives. They built a stadium for him to run around. So that's maybe more that if I'm ranking those games, I go Winky number 1, Espresso number 2, On Guard number 3, and Rambi number 4.
Because as far as actually like gameplay goes, I feel like Winky's ability is the weakest. And Rattly is actually like more fun in that regard.
So what separates the way Rattly controls from the way Winky controls? Is there anything? They both jump extra high.
They both jump extra high. Their regular like movement
is kind of hippity hoppity. And they can jump on stuff that a normal monkey wouldn't be able to, like a big spiky bee.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually like Squitter's ability, which we didn't talk about that much, being able to squit their web, and then you can climb on it, and so you're able to like get verticality in levels that way,
and to create platforms to like get over larger chasms.
Yes, exactly. So I actually think that is a really cool ability. I'm just disgusted by the character itself
and his name.
And his name. So like for me personally, Winky could go above Ellie the elephant and below Squitter.
I'm gonna back that just because I love Winky. I love his bonus level.
You love his bonus level because you get easy lives in it.
No, I feel accomplished. Like it is maybe easier, but I feel like you've got to really know how to do it and really know how to, because the way he sort of like hippity hops along, if you try to jump at the wrong point in his gait, he's like halfway in the air. And the jump doesn't really work.
Yeah,
it is not easy. I feel like it requires discipline to do it well, and as a child, I developed that discipline. So obviously that is my nostalgia bias kicking in there. But so long, Winky, you are being orphaned down there lower in the list than I believe you deserve. But that's fine.
It's the sacrifices we make in a list like this.
Yeah, exactly. There will be no further sacrifices like that. The rest of these characters are in a top 4, no questions asked. Okay, Espresso and On Guard.
So, I like On Guard is kind of easy mode a little bit in the water levels.
Totally.
Is
that a strike for him or a strike against him?
So I have affinity for On Guard for that reason. Because he was like a pal, a true animal buddy who helped me through some of the challenging water levels. As far as like more fun to control, that's Espresso for me.
Yeah, and I think I said earlier in this episode that Espresso is wearing tennis shoes. He's wearing roller skates, right? Right? We need to look this up right now. I believe that instead of wearing shoes of any kind, he's wearing roller. No. They're just shoes. They're just. Oh man! In my mind, for a second, he was wearing roller skates, and I thought that is so cool.
And also crazy, because how do you run in those things?
I mean, he's a bird. He flaps his wings a little bit, balances out. He's like half flying, which ostriches don't do. A point in favor of science. Oh no, against, because he kind of does fly.
No, yeah, he glides.
Yeah,
downward.
He does glide.
He gets no verticality.
But he also doesn't have a good. Like his regular jump is fine. It's I think a little bit higher than the monkey's, but there are a lot of enemies that he can't land on.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have that like extra, bottom armor like Winky or Rattly do. So I feel like it takes one of the main tools in the Donkey Kong arsenal away from you. You no longer get to attack things by jumping on them.
But that makes him a little more balanced, because in the same way that like Rambi, you can run into basically anything, but you're not going to get any like help with your jump.
Except that he does have a mightier jump, right? Like it's not higher, but he does. Like he can jump on a bee. Is that right? Maybe not.
No, I mean, doesn't he have to hit the
with his horn? Yeah, I guess you're probably right. I don't remember.
Well, no, but basically what I'm saying is like, out of those two, Rambi or Espresso, they definitely like balance each other well.
Yes.
Which one do we like more?
I like Rambi more. And I think, again, I think for me, Rambi's gonna take this thing. He's number one for me. Partially because they characterize Rambi kind of like a dog.
Do they?
Yeah. When he is his like idle animation, he looks at the camera.
Is he like panting?
Pants a little bit. He's a dog who is also a rhinoceros. He's the first animal friend that you meet in Donkey Kong Country, and he is the one that keeps coming back.
See, now it makes me wish that they had. I'm going to say this is a point against Rambi, and his creators. That I wish they would have leaned into the like dog-like thing more.
Yeah, that would be really nice.
Where
really
he's like
fun.
a family pet or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Like he's got a dog bowl in Donkey Kong's like treehouse. He's also got some good like his ramming ability in Tropical Freeze. That like you use that to gain momentum, and like if you're charging and then you jump, you are covering more distance that way. He just feels like such a versatile character to me. That like I really can't imagine anyone else in that number one spot.
Yeah, I want to be contrary, but I think you're right.
Okay. So let's put Rambi up there, and then we got to figure out what to do. Quawks, On Guard, Espresso. Who is our second favorite of these animal buddies? You were, I think, starting to make a point for Espresso.
Yeah, but when I really think about it, like in my mind's eye, who I associate with Donkey Kong Country more, it's definitely On Guard.
Yeah. I think that's right. So we're gonna put On Guard number 2, Espresso number 3, Quawks number 4.
I mean, that makes sense to me because my experience with the game is that Quawks is basically a non-entity.
Right. And I obviously have a different experience with Quawks, but I can appreciate that you can play all the way through Tropical Freeze and never interact with that character. And I think that is also valid. The game doesn't really go out of its way to say like, hey, use this character. It's like a kind of easy mode for collectors. So I think that's fine. And also he kind of fits the complaint that we've had about other of these characters where like you're never actually controlling him in any version of these games. So Mark, looking at the table, is this the list that you think you want to see here?
Yeah, I think so. I think there really is like a divide between the top 4 and then the rest.
Yeah, I think so too. So starting from the bottom, we have Perry the Parallel Bird, followed by Clapper the Seal, then Glimmer the Anglerfish, then Talks the Parrot, then Ellie the Elephant, then Winky the Frog, then Squitter the Spider, then Rattly the Rattlesnake, then Quawks the Parrot, then Squawks the Parrot, then Espresso the Swordfish coming in.
No, the Ostrich.
The Ostrich coming in at number 3. On Guard the Swordfish coming in at number 2. And at number 1, the best animal buddy from the Donkey Kong Country games, Rambi the Rhinoceros. Mark, we did it. Let's close out this list. Controversy, you think, on this one? You think these are controversial picks?
I think that, as always, it will be argued, or could be argued, that we are not valuing Donkey Kong Country 2 as much as it should be valued. But I mean, Squitter people.
Come on.
Don't be a Squitter stan.
That. And I'm sure you could also make the argument that we should have played through Jungle Beat and gotten to know those animal friends.
And if those are the arguments you want to make, we genuinely would love to hear them.
Absolutely. So you can email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society
at gmail.com. Let us know why we have Squitter all wrong.
Yeah, or, let us know why Perry the Parallel Bird is actually a revelation and is the only redeemable thing about Donkey Kong Country 3.
And we should feel something about him.
Look, we just don't, okay? All right, that's going to do it for this episode of... What's the name of the show? I was gonna say Donkey Kong Country again. I feel like we've said those 3 words so many times during this episode. That's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. If you liked it, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. All that kind of stuff helps us out tremendously. You can share the show on Twitter or Facebook. On Twitter, I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MK Mitchell, and the show is at Nin Cart Society. We have a Facebook page as well. That's just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers, asking why there aren't animal buddies in King of Swing. That's a Donkey Kong game, right? Thanks for listening.
fire.